before I do anything, let me see if I can clear that real quick. So padding 0, I don't know if this would work, but margin 0 comes with a lot of styles, a lot of like pre-built styles that I don't like. All right, so that took that away, even though I know there are other pre-built styles. So we're going to go to the wrapper, right? And what we're going to do with this is we're going to give it a width. I generally use percentages, right, when I'm dealing with my width. I don't like to use lengths, like actual pixels. I use percentages because that my brain works better like that. So I generally give my wrappers like a width of, let's say, like 80%, right? So if we hover over this, we can see the weight has been applied. So this what we're seeing at the edge now is like margin, right? So the margin automatically goes to the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add margin auto, which just makes it, you know, even out the margin between the left and the right side, right? So it's so now the margin on the left and right is approximately 10% each, right? So that makes it 20%. 20% plus 80, that's 100, right? So let's see how it looks. You know, so you know, this is approximately like the same. Even there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more, but let's reduce the width of this some more. So let's make it like 85. All right, cool. So the next thing to do is we're going to work on the nav bar, right? So first thing we're going to do is make the nav bar a flex. So we're going to make the nav bar display flex. So this just aligns things side by side. You can use flex to align things on a row or on a column. By default, it defaults to column, right? So what we're going to do again is we're going to say justify content, right? We're going to say space between. So this makes it pushes the content within the flex apart. It puts space in between them and it pushes it to the edge. So it has pushed the menu to like the end of like the page and the logos on the other end, right? So this is generally the effect that we want. So yeah, these are the styles we have done so far. So let's go ahead and put this back in the CSS, right? Because I forgot to add classes to the menu item, and I don't really want to style that right now without having just classes on it. So we're going to add this to the wrapper class, right? We're going to copy this and we're going to add it to the, so to add a class, obviously you use dot wrapper and we're just going to paste that. So you see, pretty easy. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is the flex, right? This flex is on the navbar class. So we're going to copy this. We're going to create the navbar class, navbar, and we're going to paste, right? So I think that's all we have done so far. So let's save this, and I think it will reload our page. Yes, it did. So the next thing we can do is let's add classes to this menu. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a class, an overall class to this. I'm just call it menu. Now to style list items, you could put a class on all the list items so you can style them, but I think that is not effective code. So a really cool way to style list items is, I don't know what the name is in CSS, right? But is when you use a parent class to target like the children. So how we're going to achieve this is that we're going to say menu, right? And we're going to give a space and say li. So what this means is that it's going to look through your HTML and find the class menu, and after menu it's going to apply the styles to all the li items, right? And this works for class name to class name. It works for class name to like element type, like an li. So I'm going to just show you guys what this looks like, right? So if we come to the browser now, we can see the menu, right? So this has a lot of inbuilt styles. It has like padding, it has like margin. Like we don't want any of that. Like we don't want any of those styles, right? So what we're going to do is just say padding 0. All right, so we can hover our mouse on it to kind of see what happens. So before I said padding 0, you can see that, right? So once I say padding 0, that goes away, and we can say margin 0, right? So we removed those two. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove those ugly dots, right? So we're going to say list style image, right? Or list style type none. So the list style type, we'll put it to none. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say display flex, because we want all the list items to be side by side. We want all the menus to be side by side. So you can see how easy it is to do that, right? So we have them side by side, right? So the first thing that I'm going to notice is that this menu items are kind of aligned to the top, and you know the logo is kind of like big, right? So it doesn't really look nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the nav bar that wraps the logo and the menu, and we're going to add another class, right? So we have the justify space between, which separates them. Now we're going to add an align items. So we're going to align items, and we're going to say center. So that aligns them centered. As you can see, the menu items are now centered. So let's go back here. It's also a good thing to be aware of all the styles you change, because if you don't add them to the HTML and you reload your page, they would be gone, right? So you have to be careful about that. So what I'm going to do with these menu items, you can see they're all pressed together. We don't really want that, right? So I'm going to add a first of all, I'm going to style them a little bit, but I'm going to add like a padding to them, right? So I'm going to style them a little bit. So let's add a padding. Let's do 5 pixels, then 10 pixels. If you guys understand padding, how it works, so we essentially added 10 pixels to the left and right, and we added 5 pixels to the top and bottom. So that is essentially what that just did. So if we click on each of them, we can see, and we scroll down, we can see it right here. We have 5 pixels on the top, 5 pixels on the bottom, 10 on the left, 10 on the right. So that's what this does, right? And we can, you know, drop this down as well to see. So it's a little bit like shorthand CSS. But next thing we're going to do is that we're going to add a margin. We're going to add a margin left to everything, right? So we're going to add a margin left of, let's say, 5 pixels. So this adds even more space, but now it adds more space in between them, right? So we're going to increase this a little bit more, let's say to 10 pixels. All right, so it adds more space in between them, right? So let's copy these styles. So let's copy these styles. Oh shit. Alright, so this style goes to the menu.li. So menu.li, and we paste that. So what else? What other styles did we add? We added a couple of styles actually. So we added a lot of styles to the menu. So let's copy this. I know I didn't copy that correctly. Menu, I'm gonna paste. I know I didn't copy the P. Yeah, okay. Then we added a style here as well. Align items. Center. Save. So as you guys can see, if you guys are wondering, how my computer is showing me all the styles, like if you have VS Code, it comes pre-built with this app called Emmet, and it helps you predict like your styles, so you don't even have to completely remember every single detail of every single style. You just have to remember like a little bit of the name and you're good. So now obviously these texts are very ugly, right? It has this like blue fonts right here, and that's not what we want at all, right? So let's open the design, right? The design doesn't have those blue fonts. So this style is coming from the link tag, right? This A tag, if you open it, you can see it here, right? It has like the color web link, right? It has this pre-built styles that it comes with. So we're going to change the styles, but in order to change the styles for everything, we're going to do the same thing we did with this li, but instead we're going to go a step more. So we're going to say menu, right, .li.a. So if you see our class tag, it's going to search for menu, it's going to search for li, and it's going to apply this class to all the a's. So it's really helpful to have your styles like this, because it helps with styling. So you can see it right here, right? So the first thing that we're going to do is that we're just going to say color black. Then it has this like underline text, and we're going to remove it, right? So we're going to say text decoration, and we're going to make that none. Alright guys, so you can see it's kind of looking like our design. So let's copy this, and the next thing we're going to style is the menu. So I'm not really going to focus much on the fonts for this design. I may, depends on how much time I think I have left, but I may not focus on the fonts at all. So let's put a class for the, actually I'm still going to show you guys some really cool stuff. We don't actually have to put a class, right, for the button. Like you may put a class if you want to, but like I said, all this is basically like choice, kind of. So we're going to say li, then we're going to say button. So we want to style any button that is in the li. So this has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is that it allows you to style things without having to put a class to everything. The disadvantage is that it styles all the elements in that would match that criteria. So it depends on your style and your preference and what you want to do. So alright guys, so first thing that we're gonna just do to this button, so we can see it a little bit more, we're gonna add a background color of like red. Alright, so we're seeing it a little bit more, right? So we need to add more padding to this, and it has some other weird styles on it that I can't really see now, but let's add some padding. So we're going to add padding. Let's do 10 pixels, and let's do 15. I made a mistake right there. We want to apply 2 of them, 10 pixels, 15 pixels. Alright, so as you can see, there's something wrong, right? Our text is aligning to the top, so we have to go back to the flex and say align center. But before we do that, let's finish styling this. Border, I don't think it has one, but let's just say none. Alright, cool. So border radius, So this is what makes it have the curved corners, right? 5 pixels. Then color. So this is the color of the text inside our button. Color, we're gonna make it white because the design is white. And yeah, let's actually get the actual red from our design, because that red we are using right now is too shouty. And we can see our design button is a little bit longer, so we can add more padding to this to make it longer. So let's go here, and where it says 15, we're gonna make it like 30, like 35, right? And we're gonna change this red to the X. So I copied the hex code from Figma, and yeah, I pasted the hex code. And the next thing we're gonna do is go back to the menu flex right here, and we're just gonna say item align items, sorry, center. As you can see, it brings everything down, right? So let's copy the button class, because this is like the most important class right now. Let's copy that, and we have to recall to add the flex to the menu. So let's paste that, and we're going to go to the menu, display flex right here, right? And we're going to say align items center, and we're going to save that. Hopefully it doesn't mess anything up. So as we can see, the menu is kind of on the top of the page, right? Like it's too close to the edge of the page, and we don't really want that look. We want space, right? We want some space above it. So we're just going to add like probably like a margin top of, let's just say like 15 pixels, yeah, something like that, or more than that actually, like 20. So let's add that to the our CSS, right, real quick. 20 pixels, and yeah, let's save. So I'm going to close the inspector real quick, so just so we can see and appreciate the design so far. So as you can see, this is what the design looks like. One thing you may notice is that button classes, for some weird reason in CSS by default, doesn't change your mouse to this hover state, so you can use a class to do that. But yeah, so far so good. Even though the fonts to me look so ugly, I think we may just have to import like the actual font I used for the design. I think I used Rubik's. Yeah, we may just have to import the actual fonts, right, just to make the design better. But so far so good. So the first thing I want to show you guys is how to add like this hover state to the button. It's not hard at all. So we're just going to go to the button, and we're going to just say cursor pointer. So we're going to change the cursor to pointer, which means it's like that hand that looks like you can click, right? So let's check. As you can see, it's now showing us that, right? So I will definitely import the fonts, right? So it depends. I don't want the video to be too long, but if I can keep everything under like 10 to 20 minutes, that would be cool.